Hi, I'm Gordon Q. Gillargan, and I'm from the University of San Agustin Innovation and Technology Support Office. Our office is tasked in handling all the IP applications or intellectual property applications of the university. The University of San Agustin has its intellectual property policy, which is registered under the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines. The intellectual property policy of the University of San Agustin is implemented and adopted in accordance with all the pertinent laws in the Philippines, including the Philippine Constitution and the Intellectual Property Law, which is the RA or Republic Act 8293. The University of San Agustin encourages its faculty, students, staff, and everyone to go into research and develop their intellectual property that could actually be commercialized by the university. And these provisions are found under the intellectual property policy of the university. The IP policy of the university is strictly and liberally construed in favor of the creator and the university. And the IP policy is being implemented by the Innovation and Technology Support Office of the university. So all provisions of our IP policy are being managed and looked into by this office. So the office is being managed by a director, an associate, an administrative specialist or assistant, and a plag scan or plagiarism scan specialist. The office is under the Office of Research and Global Relations. Basically, the Office of Research and Global Relations are under the Office of the President. So all your intellectual property applications are being filed for by the Innovation and Technology Support Office, and this is in compliance or in support of our IP policy, and the office makes sure that everything about intellectual property of the university is being followed as provided under the intellectual property policy. So what are the matters covered by your intellectual property policy? Matters of intellectual property are governed or covered by your IP policy. And this includes the general provisions on copyright, trademark, patent, and of course under patent we have your utility model, industrial design, and in recent jurisprudence there is what we call as geographical indications. And the University of San Agustin itself assists its faculty, students, and staff who would want to commercialize or would look into how they can develop their intellectual property. They will assist the student, the faculty, or the staff in making sure that the correct application will be made or will be done according to their intellectual property. The University of San Agustin owns all the intellectual property created by its academic and non-academic staff. This is in pursuance of their duties in the duration of their contract of employment with the university. This includes, as I've mentioned earlier, patent, utility models, industrial design, trademarks or copyright, even your layout designs or geographical indications, and new plant varieties and undisclosed information are covered by this intellectual property that is owned by the university. With regards to teaching materials, the intellectual property of these teaching materials are owned by its creator. However, there are certain exemptions to these general rules. First is the work is commissioned by the university or is created at the direction of the university for a specific university purpose. Second, the work is created using funds provided by the university. Therefore, these teaching materials require authority from the author and the university before you are actually allowed to put them on document sharing sites. It is essential that you get their authority, their consent, before you upload them. The University of San Agustin share in the net revenue earned by these commercialized learning materials, both the university, its faculty, staff, researcher, or inventor. You must understand that the university retains ownership and retains use and distribution of these learning materials even if the faculty, researcher, or inventor has left employment with the university. With regard to student creation, generally, the creations of our students are owned by the students. However, they grant the university a royalty-free permission to use and distribute all these materials in the course of their enrollment here at the University of San Agustin. The university retains the ownership of the intellectual property created by a student under the following conditions. the university provided a research grant for a specific purpose, the student participated as part of a team with a university faculty member, or the student uses pre-existing intellectual property owned by the university. The student is a co-creator together with the faculty, and the student is a co-creator together with a faculty member for a creation of a university-funded project. Take note that not all your creations are owned by you. So take note of the exemptions that I have provided, and these will make it easy for you to understand which part of your creation belongs to the university and which part of your creation belongs to you as a student. With regard to research, any dissertation or thesis that will use any patented or applied for patent, utility, model, industrial design, copyright, or trademark as a part of their thesis or dissertation, the university owns these theses and dissertations or any materials in that study that may be filed for patent or copyright or trademark. So generally, in a short way of saying it, any material, creative work, scholarly work, or any intellectual property which uses the fund of the university to produce it is owned by the university. That's the short way, or in a gist, explaining the ownership of all our intellectual property. Manuals, standard operating procedures, or any flyers, pamphlets used by the university to make sure that you understand the procedure, the process flows, and everything that functions in the university shall be owned by the university. Again, and I would like to point out that anything produced by the university using the funds of the university through commissioned work or learning materials, through its students, through faculty, academic or non-academic, shall be owned by the university. So the best way to explain it is this. If it is using the funds of the university, it is owned by the university. If it's using the funds of the faculty, the teacher, the non-academic or academic personnel, it is owned by them. But they grant the university a royalty-free permission to use and distribute. So if you have an available intellectual property, the ITSO, or the Innovation and Technology Support Office of the University of San Agustin, files, administers, and protects these intellectual properties that are available to you. So how do the ITSO function in general? Basically, the ITSO will get your intellectual property. You will need to sign a non-disclosure agreement in order for your intellectual property to be protected, and it will not be disclosed to any external or third-party persons that could file for the same intellectual property that you have. The ITSO also penalizes intellectual property infringement committed by our faculty, our students, academic or non-academic personnel, or external institutions or third parties that infringe the university intellectual property. ITSO basically protects your right on intellectual property or anything that concerns with the intellectual property of you, the student, the faculty, and the university. All you need to do is email us through itso@usa.edu.ph. When you email us, we will assist you in filing for your intellectual property, may it be copyright, trademark, or patent. In addition to that, the university ITSO is also in charge of commercialization of all your intellectual property. When we say commercialization, it is the act of distributing and gaining royalties from the distributions of your intellectual property. The commercialization aspect is also a task of the university ITSO in making sure that you generate income from your intellectual property. So what is the sharing percentage when it comes to the commercialization of your intellectual property? Well, the university takes 50% of the royalty, most especially if the intellectual property is filed with the ITSO and is owned by the university. The creator, the inventor, or the researcher gets another 50% from the total earnings of these commercialized intellectual property. So basically, it's a 50-50 share between the university, the inventor, and the creator. Like any other laws, the IP policy of the university is of course construed in favor of the university. So it is important that you visit the website of the university under research and extensions under ITSO. You can check the IP policy there for you to fully understand what is your right in research collaborations, in third-party dealings with your intellectual property, and you as a student, what is your right on the creations that you produce during your enrollment here at the university. Your rights may be waived, or the rights of the university may be waived, like any other provisions of the law. However, there is a need for you to understand the basic concept of our IP policy in order for you to understand what rights under the IP policy that you have that you may waive and you may not. So therefore, any violation of any of the provisions of the intellectual property policy of the University of San Agustin is deemed by our policy to be intellectual property infringement. May it be committed by the faculty, the students, academic or non-academic personnel. Remember that you must understand and know the provisions of these IP policies in order for you to protect your rights and the rights of the university. Make sure that what you do online or offline is actually or could be a violation of someone's intellectual property. And I would like to emphasize also that when you post anything online, proper credits should be done because it is a form of intellectual property infringement which is covered by the IP policy provision. Make sure that when you use the university video or learning materials online, make sure that you give the university a proper credit and the owner of such intellectual property the proper credit. Always use the right credit, or else it is a violation of our intellectual property policy and a form of infringement. Once again, I'm Gordon Q. Gilurgan. I am an associate at the University of San Agustin Innovation and Technology Support Office.